If you are an estate agent, letting agent, or someone who is interested in the property market, then the UK Property Market Stats Show is for you. My name is Chris Watkin, and each week I'm joined by a special guest. This week it's Alice Bullard. We'll come to Alice in a second. Why should you watch this show? Well, the British are obsessed about the property market. Whenever there's something from the land registry, it's all over the newspapers. The Halifax and the Nationwide, all over the newspapers. But I don't know if you're aware, ladies and gentlemen, but when we're talking about house prices and stuff like that, the land registry is actually looking at sales that were agreed 9 or 10 months ago. The Halifax and Nationwide are looking at sales that took place 2 or 3 months ago. We're looking at last week. And by being able to look at so close to the data so soon, we can actually analyse the market months and months in advance. So if you love your property stats and you love the property market, then this is the weekly show for you. This week we are looking at week 28 of the UK property market, and I will just pull up my trusty diary, which is Monday the 14th of July all the way through to include Sunday the 20th. Before we go to Alice, I'd like to apologise to the people that sent me messages that there was no show last week. Unfortunately for yourselves, but fortunately for myself, I was away working in Cornwall, interviewing lots of great people and having a few Cornish cream teas at the same time. But anyway, without further ado, let's come to our special guest, Alice Bullard, who's the boss lady, El Supremo of Nested, the estate agency.
I've never been called that one before, but I like it.
Nested is an estate agency self-employed model, started off a number of years ago, has pivoted and is gaining quite a lot of traction, not quite a lot of traction around the south and the southwest. This is Alice's 5th time on the show, so she must be doing something really good. She knows her onions. Alice, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome, Chris. Always a pleasure, of course.
And never a chore. But for anyone who's not watched the show before, the show lasts about an hour, okay? The first half looks at the UK property market, and we'll start off with listings, price reductions, sales, fall-throughs, net sales, exchanges, prices, and things like that. We'll have a quick look at a little bit of lettings data, and then the second half will move on to a town or a city where we deep dive and analyse who's the best estate agent in a certain town or city. Now, if you are an estate agent who suffers from competitors who overvalue or cheap fees, then it's really, really hard as an agent to prove your worth. But we're going to be using a bit of kit that actually shows whether you are actually as good as you think you are. And if you are, you can use this bit of kit to show others how awesome you are. So you can prove that your competitors are overvaluing. You can prove that your competitors don't sell as many houses as they, in terms of the percentage of houses they list versus what they exchange on. This week, we're looking at Maidstone. Now, if you're not from Maidstone, I'd certainly recommend you watch the part of the show if you are interested in that bit of kit, because we're going to be showing it to you, analysing it, and you could use that bit of kit in your own town to make you look awesome. So without further ado, let us go and start with the first part of the show, which is looking at the UK property market. So are you ready, Alice? Shall we rock and roll?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Here we go. Okay, so again, anyone that's not watched the show before, ladies and gentlemen, I just spend 30 seconds or a minute on some stats, and then my special guest then just gives their thoughts, and then we move on to the next stat. So in a estate agency, it all obviously starts with the listings, and this week we have broken through the million mark. So far this year, over 1 million houses have come onto the market, which when you consider there is 28 million houses in the UK, of which 24 million are privately owned, then that just gives you the extent of the number of houses that are on the market. Let us go back and just have a look at the rest of the stats. And again, this is Alice doesn't see these stats before. She likes to come in and again,
see them fresh.
Okay, so let's move on and actually now move on and look at the number of listings this week. And the number of listings is 335. The average asking price of a property coming on the market is 424, and you can see that compared to other week 28 weeks. We'll be looking at the last couple of years. Not standalone in a second. The white line here shows us the number of listings compared to, as I said, throughout the year. And again, just to give you an idea, this week, as I said, 34,335. And if we compare that with other years, 24 was 34,8, 23 was 34,6, 22 was 33,2, 21 was 29,3. 20,000 in 2020 it was 40,000. We haven't got these on these because again the COVID years were a bit strange, and then the average for 17, 18 and 19 was 33. So we are, as you can see here, just slightly above the standalone week average, and year to date we are and again let's just pull that up again, we are 13.6% ahead of the long-term average. We are 7.2% ahead of 17, 18 and 19, and we are 4.4% ahead of last year of 2024. Just before we do that, it's important to look at the stock levels. So let's just remind ourselves of stock levels. I'll just pull that up now, ladies and gentlemen. And here we go. We're presently, this is the 30th of June going into the 1st of July at midnight. There were 758,000 properties for sale, and all the yellows are the same time going back all the years. But again, just a slight pinch of salt. That was 1.3 million back in 2008 when things were going what's the name up. Right. Okay, then you're the star of the show. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. Overall, still very positive. I think we've been, saying that throughout the year. Like there hasn't been a time, I think, this year where we haven't felt the positivity from sellers, especially top of the funnel when it comes to them putting the property on the market. So the seller confidence is there, which is great. You're absolutely right. There, we don't need to be too worried about the stock levels at the moment, given what we've known in the past has been the case. But it does. We are entering, or we have entered, a very price sensitive market because there is stock out there for those buyers to go and buy. So even more important when you see these numbers to know that those sellers, they do have competition. You do need to be making sure that you are marketing that property in the best way you possibly can to attract the most buyers, but ultimately pricing it correctly because it is price sensitive out there. There is stock for buyers to buy. The supply is slightly outweighing. Is the supply slightly outweighing the demand, would you say, Chris? I'd say maybe slightly, but not too much.
Well, let's look at last year, okay? Listings are up 4.4. Sales are up, gross sales are up 7.6% than last year. And net sales are 5.8% up. So let's ignore gross. Net sales are up 5.8. Listings are up 4.4. I heard a rumor that estate agents don't I watched this TV program on Monday.
Did you see that?
No one watched it, but by all accounts, some estate agents overinflate the asking price. Can you believe it? I mean, I've never heard of this. Overinflate the asking price to secure the business. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I've always said, I kind of feel like I've always been on the side of the estate agents that are actually out there and doing their job, because I think it's the system that's broken. Like their KPIs are driven towards top of funnel, get the board out. So you can understand why sometimes people are worried about their numbers and making sure they don't, get a call from their boss at 5 p.m. on a Friday. But I think that ultimately, if you really do care about the outcome of the sale and that actually getting paid at the end of the day, then focusing on the right price is the most important thing that you could be doing in your role right now.
Okay. I'm going to go out there and say, and I genuinely do not believe it is the fault cause, I don't like the word fault actually. I do like the cause of it is not the boys and girls, the guys and girls on the front line. But the bottom line is this: is that if you are bonused on listings, market share, and price reductions, that's what you're going to do.
You've signed up for that. You've made that decision to go with a company that incentivizes you for that, then a little bit of the ownership does have to be on you, I'm afraid, I think. But yeah, we could get into this debate, but I think ultimately
I don't disagree with you. It starts with the powers that be.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
starts
100% it does. Yeah.
okay. But the ultimate thing is this: is it does ultimately finish though with the branch manager valuers of these large firms.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not appropriate in this forum to mention it, but the larger firms exchange to listings ratio. Simply, what percentage of the houses you put on actually shift? I mean, I published it. I think because again, you're a big self-employed agent. Is this? There's a 20% gap. I think it's the difference between like mid 60s and mid 50s%. So the employed models shift 63-64% of the houses they list, and the large corporates shift about mid 50s.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not surprised by that at all.
The thing is, though, when you actually strip out the big corporates, that gap gets wider.
Really?
Oh! I tell you what, I'd love to, but again, my backside will be sued from here to come. Okay, but honestly, it really is throw enough shit at the wall, and some of it will stick.
We do see that though, don't we? When we watch your shows, the second part of the shows, and we dive into the individual areas, you can actually see the difference there between some of the agents and I call it the completion rates, but you call it the exchange
to listing.
Yeah, to listing. Same thing. Ultimately, the bottom line, getting sellers moved, and those ones that have actually paid the estate agent.
Yeah. So like we said, ladies and gentlemen, is do watch the Maidstone bit, because we will be analysing on a town by town basis, and the numbers will just blow your mind on success rate. You want to go to London. I mean, out of the top 5 biggest estate agents, all household names, one estate agent shifts 1 in 4 houses, and one estate agent shifts nearly 2 out of 3. That is scary. Yeah, we're not talking 20%. Matt, we're talking.
That's why those numbers and knowing your numbers. If you're that agent that shifts 2 and 3, you want to know that you're that agent, and you want to be going into that living room and pointing out those stats.
It's halfway between a half and 2/3. But I mean, when you're at 54-55% versus 24%, then we're not, whether it's 2/3 or somewhere in, or 3/5 it doesn't matter. We're splitting hairs here. It's massive. That's why I believe there's a certain cohort of estate agents that don't care if they sell houses or not. All they care about is that the competitor doesn't get it, because their bruised ego means that they don't have to see another agent's for sale board. I'm getting off the soapbox because it's a bit early for the soapbox.
We always do that, me and you. Always go off a bit of a tangent.
Nothing wrong with that, don't we? No one watches the show. No. Right, let's move on. Let's go to price reductions. This is a monthly stat. So this will get updated in early August for July. But we are price reducing 14.1% of the houses we list, which is about 1 in 7. The average price of a property that's being reduced is 420. 25,560 properties reduced. Is 1 in 7 properties enough?
No.
Of course it's not. I mean, we're like a broken record. Honestly, mate, all we have to do, I tell you what we need to do is we need to just do the show, chuck the
once, and then keep sending it out every single week with the same.
AI to drop the numbers in, because honestly, come on.
Yeah, Yeah. But this definitely needs cruise. If you're sitting there now, you're thinking it's getting a little bit quieter coming up to summer. Don't switch off. The last thing you want to do if you're working during the summer months in your business is to switch off and go, right, I'm just gonna have a little bit of a break when you haven't actually got a planned break. There are absolutely things that you can be doing within your business. And we discussed this on our morning meeting this morning about price reductions and what you need to be doing to make sure that your book that is the stock that you have on is being shown in the best possible way to get the best outcome for the seller in this current market, because we know come September there's going to be a load more sellers coming to the market. So you should be doing all you possibly can now to get those sellers under offer before that happens. And one of the things that we discussed, which I think is really interesting, it's old school estate agency, so you love this, Chris, is actually going and doing revisits in person, and actually do, rather than on the phone and try and speak to the customer on the phone, going and doing it in person adds so much value, and you will get such a better reaction from the customer if you do that in their living room than you will if you've called them at 12 o'clock during their lunch break and they're rushing around trying to get their meal deal during their break. Like these are the things that you can be doing, that extra mile to get your stock down and get it sold.
Old school. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, you think you youngsters in your 20s, although you're in your 20s though, aren't you?
I'm not. You know what? You're my favourite person. I'm not in my 20s. I am in my mid 30s now. But
Okay,
yeah.
then. You obviously didn't have a tough paper round. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, the estate agency hasn't changed because people haven't changed. Okay, we've got these things called mobile phones, and we've got the Tinterweb, and we've got WhatsApp. But bottom line is this: people are still people, and we are in a people business. Okay, someone trusted you enough to put the house on the market. Now, again, here we go. Wait for, now this is different. I know it's not for you guys because you're personal agents at Nested, but the bottom line is this: look at the listings. Your listings are dropping off in July and August. You've got time to go to your vendors and sit down with them. Now, if anyone wants, I've got a 5-step plan on how to get a price reduction where you remove the emotion out of it, because again, that's really hard. So if anyone wants my 5-step plan, all they have to do is text me with the word price reduction. I'll give you my number now. I will just send you the message with it's 2 sheets. There's a script, there's a text message, but again, this is just a way and a full-on script on how to do it properly. And I won't bother you again. Okay, it's 07950 147 572, and just text me the words price reduction, and I will text you back a link to WeTransfer where you don't actually use the word price reduction. Okay.
Adjustment.
I can't remember it. I wrote it about 2 months ago.
I agree with what you're saying though. Reduction is a negative word. You wanna use a word that's more positive. I think adjustment, is sometimes used for people, but there are a few different words.
Realign with market.
Realign.
Okay, then. And you're not on the market, you're on top of the market, and you're making everyone else look right, So again, just that's there. Okay. Okay. God, look at the time. We're just we need to keep clicking on. Right then. Okay, so let's look at sales. And this week, in terms of sales, we are on 26,253. Look at the white line here. I mean, compared to 24, which was 24,700. And, we are, to give you an idea, excluding 2020, which again, things were rocking and rolling. Okay, so back in 17, 18 and 19, it was hovering around 23, 24. It went up to 32,000 in 2020. That's not on the graph. We are ahead of 20. Can you believe it? We are ahead of 2021. And we're just below 2022. They're not even on the graph. 2023, 21. I was 21,600 last month.
You don't include 21, do you? Because it's that year the 2020 and 2021 are that year that's
Yeah,
was all over the place. But the
I
fact that
do.
we're ahead of that's
I
great.
do include them on the net sales because I don't want to be accused of, well, you're only
Yeah.
looking at, in the gross sales. 743,000 year to date, which is 7.6% ahead of last year, 14.6% ahead of 17, 18, and 19. Just to give you an idea, the average, if we were the average of 17, 18, and 19 was 640. It doesn't sound a lot, 14.6%, but actually it is 95,000 more homes sold subject to contract today, year to date, than 17, 18, and 19. Let us not
Yeah.
forget, though, we do have more stock.
Yes.
Ourselves. There we go. So therefore, our stock levels at 758 versus 651, which is a 15 or 16% more stock. So therefore, stock levels are higher, sales are higher, but the percentage of homes that you're shifting, or the sell-through rate, which I've got a graph here, ladies and gentlemen, which as you would expect. There you go. So the sell-through rate is what percentage of your properties on your books are you selling? So yeah, we are selling 14.6% more homes than we were in 17, 18, or 19, but we've got 14 or 15% more homes for sale. So if you're having a better year than 17, 18, or 19, that's not because you've done it, it's because the market.
Yes, to the market. Exactly. And that's what I think, like, you should be thinking as an estate agent. You've been given an opportunity here this year, and hopefully going into next year, that we are in a good market. There is buyer seller confidence there. We've got some good mortgage rates that are out there. Yes, look, they weren't what they were a couple of years ago. They never will be. Let's move on. But they are certainly a lot better than they were this time last year, and obviously towards the end of 2022, when from when the palaver started. And look, we're in a good market now. Don't be silly and take stupid action like overvaluing properties, because we're in a good market. This is a good time to be an estate agent. We love to moan about being in a bad market. We're not in a bad market. It is good. Make hay while the sun is shining. But don't be just taken by the top of the funnel and instructions. You've got to make sure you're focusing throughout the whole of the funnel all the way through to completion.
You're absolutely right, and again, that's where we need to. Is that don't get your kicks from the listing, get your kicks from the exchange.
Yeah.
Okay, and we've got to stop needing the listing more than the vendor needs the sale.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the magic thing, is our need for a listing should never be more than what the vendor needs the sale for. So just bear that in mind, okay? Right, okay. That's your sales. Let's move on. Oh, average listing price to average sale agreed price. So again, everyone in London's going on holiday I'm sure you'll be going on holiday soon, probably. Or
no, that's it now. Wait until the baby comes.
Excellent. I wish you well on that one. Can you see here, ladies and gentlemen, the shape of the red? That's the average asking price. Okay, it's almost identical. Look at the shape. The shape. Look, up, down, up, down. Look, up, down, up. There you go. So we're on a downward trajectory now throughout August, because everyone goes on holiday in London, and then I can guarantee you, in the first and second week of September, when Henry and Henrietta come back from Provence, okay, average here will throw up. And this is the scary thing about London, and I say this most weeks, is this: that is only 5,000 listings in
small numbers.
But when you're putting on 5,000 terraced houses at $1.5 million,
and the rest,
I mean, $1.5 million in Grantham will buy you 10 acres and a huge. Stop. There you go. There you go. So just keep an eye on that one. So that's the red line is the average listing price. The turquoise line is the average sold subject to contract asking price when it went sale agreed. Do we know what it sold for? We don't. But what we do know is that, and I've said before, Hampton's data tracks that, and it's always within normally within 1 to 1.5% below the asking price. That's an interesting stat. Excluding the COVID years, the average price between the final asking price before it went sold to the contract and the sale agreed price when it catched, you find it out, is always between 98.5 and 99.1%.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And that's not the actual, that's the price that it was on the market at the point it sold. So that's not taking into consideration whether it had price reduction beforehand.
Correct.
Yeah. It shows you then, doesn't it, that pricing realistically is the right strategy. Don't be pricing it for 20 grand more to be like, oh, we can just negotiate an offer. No. You need to actually price it realistically to get people through the door, and the buyers will pay if it's on at the right price.
Now people are going to say, but Chris, I need to overvalue it to get to get the business. No, it just means you're shit at. Sorry, I'm going to be blunt now. You're shit at being able to prove the overvaluing. And again, I'm not criticizing the person. I'm criticizing the process, right? So I'm not saying you're shit. I'm saying your processes are shit. You need to improve your processes. And again, the technique you need to use is you need to get emotional buy-in first about the dangers of overvaluing, and then hit them. How many times have you been out to a property and you've basically got all the comparable evidence in front of you? It looks the part. It's obvious that a blind man on a galloping horse could see it, but they still don't take your opinion. It's because you haven't got emotional buy-in first. So, ladies and gentlemen, what you need to do is this: you need to tell a story of someone who's similar situation to theirs, who became the wrong side of overvaluing. You tell a story. You can take elements from different stories, so it doesn't have to be true, just truthful, and basically say, look, Mrs. Miggins, let me share. Are you open-minded? Great word. That's from Tom Panos. Are you open-minded for me just to share a story of Mr. and Mrs. Jones, who came from North Kingston, who were in a similar situation to you? And then you tell a story of how one agent came in and dazzled them with price, and they were moving to Harrogate or whatever, and these are moving up to Knaresborough, which is nearby. And you basically tell the story of how they missed the market and people thought something was wrong, and eventually they had to drop 100 grand off the price, and they actually ended up having to take another 50 grand off their price because everyone thought there's something wrong with it. And eventually, when they did move, they didn't get where they wanted to. They weren't in the school catchment area, and basically life was shit. Here's your evidence.
The fear factor. The fear factor, Chris.
You tell a story. You're right. You tell a story that basically puts some fear of God in them at 3 o'clock in the morning. Mr. and Mrs. Miggins, don't make a decision now, but here's the, I don't want you to be like Mr. and Mrs. Jones at the north end of Kingston who missed out, right? Tell the story. I don't want you to be like this. Here is the evidence. I don't set the market. Do not judge me on whether I've given you the highest asking price. Judge me on my processes to get you the highest price.
Yeah.
That's the magic, the process. Not the one that just dazzles you with the big number, okay?
Yeah.
And if they give some rubbish about having a huge database, then you could say, this has just come from Eve in Scotland. You could say, well, I'm sure they won't mind you having an open day. Just don't put it on Rightmove. We'll have an open day just for their buyers to come around. And if they cough and splutter and say, well, no, we need to put it on right. No, you said you had a big database. You've got prove it to us. Put your money where your mouth is, okay? I've been chucking some great stuff out. When someone says an extra 50 grand, you can therefore basically take a piece of Monopoly money out and basically say, you see that extra 50 grand? It's as real as this number here.
Yeah.
Guys.
It means nothing. It means nothing until all of those contracts are signed and the money is transferred.
Credibility is gained by the questions you ask, not by the statements you make. Okay? Remember, if you want the listing more than the homeowner wants the sale, you've already lost. You've got to be able to walk away. You can say, well, that problem is, Chris, I'm not being called out to enough properties. Of course you're not being called out to your properties because your marketing shit. Okay? Your marketing is listing. Look what we've sold, pie chart listing. That's crap. I'm sorry. So I really am on a. Do you know? You bring it out.
I do actually, don't I, Chris? But I love it. I'm all for it.
Just you're the gatekeepers. The second most interesting topic in the world to the British. The first being the property weather. The second being the property market. Just talk about the local property market, boys and girls. Right. Anyway, well, go on. There you go. Right. So the difference is 15%. You can see that because the gap's getting narrower because everyone's gone on holiday in London. Sell fall through rate this week is 24.7, which is a bit better than last week because it just nipped into 25% territory last week, which again, we were all on holiday, so I'm not happy. Fall through rate, as I said, number of fall throughs is hovering around the 6,500 mark and has been now for quite a few months. But the fourth percentage of sales in your pipeline that fall through every month is 5.38. That is for June. And again, that's a better trend because remember, ladies and gentlemen, if your pipeline is higher, let's just remind ourselves, let's just see what the pipeline is. There you go. 496,000 properties and agents pipelines. So again, 20% more than it was in 17 or 18. Oh, but the sales are taking 19 weeks. Yeah, they were taking 17 to 19 weeks before COVID. You've all got poor memories. Let's crack on because
everyone needs reminding from time to time, don't they, Chris?
They do. Right. Okay. So fall throughs 24.7, number of fall throughs 6,494. Moving on to net sales, just gross sales less fall throughs. The white line there, and again, it's looking quite nice there, ladies and gentlemen. That this week we are on 19,752 net sales. This is the stuff you're going to get paid on. 568,120 net sales year to date, which is 5.8% higher than last year and 10.5% higher than 17, 18 and 19. Again, let's just remind ourselves is this, if we were on the average of 17, 18 and 19, that would be 514,000, which means that there is 54,000 more properties in estate agents, that you're going to get paid on this year.
Good market. You're in a good position, guys.
But you're so right. That doesn't mean you have to overvalue.
Yeah.
Okay, gross sales as a percentage of listings and price changes as a percentage of listings. I know some of you like that. Okay, let's move on. We've now got the figures through for June. These are not final, but they're near as damn it. And you can see here that we are on around, let's just pull up the stats on this one. You can see we've got the June figures there. Again, you can see here that was the stamp duty lump. So again, exchanges are higher, but so is withdrawals. Let's just remind ourselves, last month, 51.3% of homes that left estate agents' books you got paid on, and the homeowner moved, and the other 47.7% of it, no, 48.7% you didn't get paid on. That is why Alice is so right, ladies and gentlemen. Price it to put on. But you're going to say, Chris, some of them went on the market with a second agent. Again, let's just remind ourselves, only 6.9% of a sole agency sales are with the second agent. Yeah. So instead of busting your gut on trying to get more second-hand properties, bust a gut to try and get a call out for the first time.
For the right price.
All right, and for the right price. It's like a broken record here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. Again, this particular graph shows us the pound per square foot. This is a stat that I use to see what's happening to house prices. Why is that so important? We look at the orange line is the most important. That's the pound per square foot at sale agreed. Why is that important? Because it matches the land registry 5 months in advance. So if you want to know what's happening, if you the land registry, everyone goes, oh, it's brilliant. We know what's going to be with an accuracy rate of 98% 5 months in advance. So therefore, follow that orange line, ladies and gentlemen. Couple of extra graphs here. The proportion of houses, so the green ones are the properties in your sold pipeline, and the orange ones are the stock available. That's your proportion. That's your numbers. And then just finally, just some average rents there, ladies and gentlemen, just to show you what's happening to rents in the UK. Okay.
All right.
Anything you want to say, or you're more than happy for you to save it to the end for a little mini Alice rant at the end?
We'll save it to the end. We'll build up towards the end. Get everyone continuing to watch.
Right then, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, our next step is for us to go to the beautiful town of Maidstone in Kent. It's a lovely town, great, and I know a number of estate agents in that town. We're going to analyse mainly the estate agents, and we'll look a little bit at the lettings as well, and we'll see who is the best performing agent in those towns. So in that town. So without further ado, let's go to Maidstone. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are using a bit of kit called Insight. Insight is from the firm 20EA. Insight is one of a number of platforms that 20EA uses. But Insight is a bit like Rightmove Plus on steroids. It looks at the last 5 years plus the year we're in, and the amount of data that it uses and the cross analysis really is just blows Rightmove Plus out of the water, in my humble opinion. The 20EA Insight platform is available to all estate agents. There is a town-based one. There's a free one, actually, although that only goes back a certain length of time, but it just allows you to have a play with it. Then there is, as I said, a town-based one, a regional-based one, and then a national-based one. And the only difference between the town, regional, and national is the geographical reach of whatever you're looking at. I must stress to you, 20EA do not pay me to use this, to highlight this. I'm not on commission on selling it, although I should be. Honestly, I was at the Kerfuffle conference and I was sat down and someone said, "Are you working for them now?" No, genuinely, ladies and gentlemen, they give me this free of charge to enable me to show you the stats that I both see in the first part of the show, but also to analyse this for the second part, which, as I said, this is Maidstone. I'm going to be spending 20 minutes on this approximately, ladies and gentlemen. And again, Alice, you just jump in, cut across anything you see that you want to talk about. So without further ado, let's go and have a look at the stats. And as I said, if this is of interest to you, then contact 20EA Insights. If you've got any issues with the numbers, speak with 20EA team about the Insight stuff. Is it perfect? No. Is it? But I have cross-referenced this against national agents and their stats they publish, and also my clients as well that I use. Because, ladies and gentlemen, my daytime job, I don't do this. This is just a hobby of mine. My daytime job is that I help estate and letting agents grow their agency by using property data to attract landlords and vendors. So the sort of data that we're looking at this and other data as well. So I do cross-reference this against other agents. I know what the stats are, and it's pretty, it's definitely in the mid to late 90s. So without further ado, let us have a look and just analyse the stats. Okay, so we said we'd go to Maidstone, ladies and gentlemen. What Maidstone are we looking at? ME14 through to ME18. The vast majority of stats we have are on resi sales. There are some letting stats as well. We're looking at the 1st of the 1st 2020 to the 20th of July 2025. Let's start off with instruction levels. Now, for the purposes of transparency, I've switched off new builds here because I think they muddy the waters. And also, I've switched off HomeWise. And the reason I've switched off HomeWise, ladies and gentlemen, is that HomeWise is a product that basically allows one agent per town to relist their properties at a much lower asking price with what's called a lifetime mortgage. So basically, if it's something's worth 200, they'll put it up for sale at like 120, 130 with a lifetime mortgage. So when you pop your clogs, the firm gets it back. That's the kind of way it works. Okay. So on this here, you'll notice it goes from 1 to 3. That because HomeWise, and again, I can't it's pretty obvious that wards have home wise.
It's wards. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wards. They're around my way, and they have home wise around here. Yeah.
Okay. So whilst I've taken it out of this here, it doesn't come out of the graph here. Okay. So just take that with a slight pinch of salt, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. What you'll also notice is that because I've taken out wards, then the percentages market share has not reflected that. So therefore, that 12%, I would, most of these will probably have an extra an extra 12th on or something like that that they have 12%. So just be aware of that. It'd be slightly lower. The numbers are the same, but the percentages will be slightly lower. But it's the growth and the change that are important. So with that, so we're not nitpicking. So without further ado, let's go and have a look. So wards, this is the number of new listings that you've had. And you can see here that, wow, it looks like their market share has been steadily dropping.
Yeah, it has been, hasn't it?
That's quite surprising for wards. Right? They're normally...
Yeah, they're a big player around Kent, for sure. But, sign of the times, people are buying into more personal agents, more kind of independents that are doing things a bit differently, and maybe the old corporate ways aren't resonating as much anymore, maybe.
Yeah, okay, that does surprise me because normally wards have been treading water and generally growing. So I don't know what's been happening there. Again, I'm not criticizing those, just giving you this, data doesn't lie. So the average price is 403. Wards are at 399. So they're middle of the road in terms of their pricing. Let's go and look at Page Wells. And Page Wells, looks like you had a poor 2021, but you've been growing since. So well done, from around the 7% mark up to, around the 10 or 11 mark. And an average price of 445. So again, not whilst wards were more middle of the road, looks like Page and Wells is more of a Sainsbury's knocking on the door of Marks and Spencer's estate agency.
Yeah.
Go look at Simon Miller. Again, the smaller numbers are going to be a bit more spiky. It looks like you had a good 2021, leveled off in 21 and 22, and have been level there ever since. I do believe Simon Miller does have a posh brand, so we'll probably pick those up. We'll go and look at the upper quartile in a second, ladies and gentlemen. Ben Siggins, again, there's a slight drifting there from around the price of 4% up to probably near a 3.5, 4. Again,
I wonder who's taking all of this share from people.
We'll have a look in a second. Ferris and Co. Again, looks like you have good months and bad months. Okay, let's go and look at Knight Edmonds. So nice and steady between 21 and 22, a slight drifting off in 23 and 24, but that's a nice, I don't know what's happened since early 25, but it looks like there's some nice growth there, so keep up the great work there at Knight Edmonds. Let's go and look at Man & Co. Well, not Man, sorry, Man's. That's nice and steady. Okay, nothing, right, your move. Okay, all right. By the sound, no one's taking it. No, it sounds no. Okay, Purple Bricks, as you would expect. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Heart. Okay, Funnels. A bit of growth there. Philip Jarvis. Robinson Michael Jackson. So, but I wonder if they opened up a branch in 22.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Looks like it. So that's decent. Gearing and Collier. Bit spikier. Bairstow Eaves. Hatch Batten. KHP, Country Homes. Again, we'll look at the upper quartile in a second. We'll go down to number 25. I know some of you will be interested. Okay.
Talking smaller numbers here, aren't we? So
EXP, well, we'll look at, there you go. Oh, okay, let's go back.
Yeah.
Okay, let's, so the first thing we're just going to do now is just look at the last year, just to see if there's anyone that's coming up on the rails. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so wards at number 2. There's no number 1. Therefore, that means obviously home wise is number 1. But again, if you just piggybacking the ward stuff, then that doesn't really mean that much. Have we got anyone coming up on the EXP?
Jumped. They were 25, they were 26, now they're 17.
To get a flavour of what's
Yeah.
happening here again. That's good. Right then. Okay. Let's move back. Let's go and look at the upper quartile, the posh houses. Not sure if there's going to be a huge market for the posh houses in Maidstone. It doesn't scream to me. Okay, so let's just hold on, switch that off. Okay, 24,000. So let's go 1 million. Let's see what houses we've got from million upwards. Not many.
No.
So Savile, Stratton Park. Oh, it's all the usual suspects.
So the usual fine and country.
It doesn't look like there's anyone that's, picking the. Let's go to the 2 million mark just to have a look. Here we go. Again, there's not much in the. I suspect this is going to be in the villages. Okay.
Yeah.
But again, Savills, as you'd expect, great brand. Let's go back to the million. Okay, so I might just go back to 750. Okay, 750. Let's just see if there's anything now. Up to 1 million. Let's see who the boys and girls are in that 750 to 1 million mark.
Asian Wales. Nice.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Look, Page and Wells. They seem to have that market.
Yeah, for the the upper end, not the extreme of the million plus, but that what would you consider the upper end of Maidstone is, they're obviously liking that local independent. Just had a quick Google as to who they were because I actually haven't heard from them before, but looks like they are a good established local independent estate agent.
Well done, Page and Wells. Let's look and go and have a look at stock levels and well, let's do a full month because it takes the average. So in 2025, there were 2,269 properties for sale in Maidstone compared to 1,801 in 2020. And you can see on there, those are the sort of numbers that we're talking about in terms of stock levels. You can see here, the black line, there you go, is wards. And again, it hasn't removed HomeWise from this, but you can see if the general level of wards is that their stock levels are reducing, which I would expect to be in line with because their listings are lower. And again, ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful thing about this, and again, what I would say is if you do work for wards, I'm sure that wards, most of the bigger firms have this bit of kit. Why don't you speak with your area manager and have a play with this because the data on here is just sublime. Okay, let's move on. Right then. Okay, so here's my favorite. Okay, let's just pull all this in, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just do that. Hold on. A few seconds. If I don't, there you go. No, sorry. Sorry about that.
No.
It's worth it if you can get it all on the same screen. There we go. Right then. Okay, we'll come back to new instruction that in a second. Right, okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. So what have we got here? There's a lot of detail going on here. So we're looking at the last 2 years, okay? 21st of July 23 to the 20th of July 25. We are looking at, we put the 20A have put them in is by new instructions. That's just to put the bigger ones at the top, okay? Now, all of you will be looking at this new instruction market share. It's similar to it's the same stats on the previous. So we're going to ignore those. And we're going to ignore the source of it, the contract numbers. Okay. This is where the magic happens. These 4 columns here. Okay. This is the make or break. Okay. In the show, we talked about I use it, the exchange to listing ratio. You use the phrase completion rate ratio. Is that the phrase?
Yeah, completion, just because that's ultimately when self-employed agents get paid. So that's why I'm used to saying that rather than exchange. But yeah, same thing.
Right. Okay. So if you add up the exchange, I want you to, ladies and gentlemen, to look at there's just these four columns here: exchange, withdrawn, and the percentages that go
Mhm.
with it. Okay. If you add up the two numbers in the percentages, every single line adds up to 100% because a property will only leave an estate agent's book for two reasons: exchange or withdrawn. Okay.
Mhm.
So wards exchange contracts on 59.47% of the homes that they list. Page and Wells 65, Simon Miller 67, Robinson Michael Jackson at 71. The average in the town is 52.5. Okay, so there's some really good numbers in here. So if we scroll down, there's going to be much lower numbers here. So again, if we can, let's take out Taylor Wimpey because they're a new home site. And if we
Mhm.
take some of these out, then that will affect the numbers slightly. But the bottom line is this: is if I was Robinson Michael Jackson,
Mhm.
71, this is what, and again, let's just do this
That's
now.
a good number.
It's a very good number.
Very good number.
That is very good. And 59. Okay. So therefore, a line I could use if I was Robinson Michael Jackson is, so 71 versus 59 doesn't sound a lot, but you could say, Mrs. Miggins, if you were to put your house on the market with me, we're up against wards. You have a 19.4% chance, or just under a 1 in 5 greater chance of moving home with me than that other agent. I'm not calling them in any way. They're a great agent, great agent. But here's the stats that prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah? And that's the wonderful thing here. But that, there's Connell's down here at 43.
43. Not valuing correctly. That's what it will be.
Well, we're going to be looking at the overvaluing stats in a second, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
Okay. But let's just see the fall through rate. Okay. So the fall through rate is 26.72. And you can see down here the full, and again, let's just look. Connell's, I'm not getting at Connell's, by the way, but your stats aren't the best here, ladies and gentlemen. 34%. So let's just remind ourselves of the most powerful overvaluing stat is if a property takes less than 25 days to achieve a sale, the chances of that sale subsequently making it all the way to exchange and completion is 94%. Okay? If a property takes more than 100 days to achieve a sale, the chances of that sale then getting through to exchange and completion goes all the way down from 94 to 56%.
Crazy, isn't it? Such a jump.
Okay. And if you're overvaluing to put your houses on the market, by the very definition, you have to wait for the price to come down, which will take time.
Mhm.
It's what we were talking about in the show, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And
We've already said this.
we have, and if you can't, and if you're finding it challenging to get beat overvaluing, then when was the last time you went on some training and development? Or are you still relying on your little book from Countrywide from 2002?
Yeah, it's just re-establishing best practice. And sometimes, over time, you're doing the same job you've done for a while, you can understand why some of that stuff that you've learned, disappears or you get into a different rhythm. It's again that realignment of just what you already know is good practice and just relearning that from time to time can't do any harm.
It can't do any harm. So again, Michael Robinson, look at their price change rate is at 64, but their exchange rate is 71. So you know what that's telling me is this. I bet you they're probably at the upper end of the overvaluing. We'll look
Yeah.
at that in a second, but they're working their stock.
Yeah, they're probably pricing a little bit higher, being maybe a little bit toppy, but they've obviously got strategy in place
Let's have a
with
look.
those
Let's have
customers.
a look. We might be talking a lot of rubbish here.
Mm.
Robinson, Michael Jackson have got they're 71%, but their price change is 64. Let's see if they overvalue. Here we go. And they do, look. They on the properties that they exchange on, they overvalue by 3.88%. Okay.
That's high.
Yeah, but they're getting the properties through.
Yeah. They've obviously got the strategy. Maybe they're doing the revisits. Maybe they're doing old school estate agency and going back round again and
Booking in
doing all of those things.
booking in an appointment with the vendor at the time of listing for 3 or 4 weeks' time and actually reassessing and realigning the price to match the market. I tell you what, this is cutting edge stuff.
Mm.
Tell you what, we were doing that in the early 90s when I was slim and had dark hair. You know, we were doing it.
A long time ago.
Guys and girls, I've been in an estate agency. I met my wonderful wife at William H. Brown in 1991, 92. Just check with the
Wow.
91, 92, 91. Okay.
91.
And the
Gosh.
stuff that we're doing today, what we were doing then is what we're doing today. It hasn't changed.
Yeah, hasn't changed. We might have AI now, but like there are things that are useful for you to use, but go back to old school, can't go wrong.
People have not changed. If you've got to overcook it, say, well, we'll try it at that. I don't set the price, Mrs. Miggins. The market sets the price. So we'll try it at that, but we're going to book in the appointment in 3 weeks' time. And if it doesn't, we'll have to realign with the market.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't set the price, the market does. Okay? But oh no, these valuers, they ain't got time to be going out to do this appointment. No. I tell you now, that's why I'm a big fan of self-employed estate agency. Not because it's self-employed, is that the person takes responsibility from start to finish. And I'm of the opinion is this: if the corporate estate agents amalgamated the negotiator role and the valuer role together, and they only got paid on completion, whether they were self-employed or employed, we wouldn't have such issues as we have with a certain panorama program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we wouldn't have the reputation
We wouldn't.
that we have as an industry.
When the valuer role and the neg role was split, that was the start. And then we started paying on listings and KPIs like that. Just pay it on
subscription. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, look at Ward's though. So right, what have we got here, ladies and gentlemen, just so you're aware, okay? So 20EA have looked at the last 2 years of your exchanges and just looked at the last 2 years worth of exchanges. So Wards, of the properties that Wards have exchanged on in the last 2 years, on average, you overvalued by 4.85%. We are not looking at the properties you didn't sell and the percentage that you overvalued it by that. We don't show that. We just show you. So it looks like Wards are overvaluing. Mm-hmm. Again, let's just remind ourselves, Ward's exchange rate is at 59, whilst Robinson. So what that's telling me is this, is that Ward's are not as strong than Robinson Michael Jackson with regard to their price, their vendor management. Yeah. That's so you're both overvaluing. So what happens is this, how's that measured? When the property comes on the market, there's a date stamp. 20EA has an automated valuation model price for every house in the UK. It just compares it with what you put it on the market for. And these are the percentage overvaluings, okay? What they then did is, what price did you finally achieve from the original price? So therefore, Ward's overvalued by 4.85 on the exchanges and took on average 4.35% less than the original asking price. Page and Wells 0.79%, they only overvalued, but took 3. So therefore, what does that mean is, if you look down this column here, if everyone put on a £450,000 house, what would each agent achieve for it? And the percent and the pound note difference compared to the average. So therefore, Robinson and Michael Jackson and Wards are overvaluing. Robinson, Michael Jackson seem to be doing a better job at vendor management and are getting £12,000 more than the average. Ferris at 17. There are some smaller numbers down here. So again,
just sorry, really quickly, but going back up to Wards, it says variance to average 14,000.
Yes. So
is that?
So that's that's £14,000 more than the average Maidstone agent.
Got you. Yeah, it says average property would sell for 451.
No, so basically, if they put on a £450,000 house
Yeah,
that was that the model thought was worth 450, they would achieve 451.
gotcha. Okay.
Okay, it's the difference between 4.85 and 4.35.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, my mind went blank then, but they are overvaluing, but they seem to be doing a fair good job in comparison to maybe some of the other agents at getting a better price.
Yeah, and again, what this is telling me is this, is that Wards and Michael Robinson Jackson overvalue, but they seem to do
Mm,
pretty well at getting their prices down.
yeah,
But Michael Robinson Jackson seem to do it better.
yeah,
All right. There's not much in it, but I think, look, there's a few grand difference there between that one and that one, but there's a huge difference between the 59 and 71.
yeah. And it shows you with you've got that growth chart down there that's just creeped onto your page. That shows that obviously, I know it looks like that they just opened a few years back, but it shows that their tactic is obviously working. They're growing as a business.
Yes, and they did, their market share is not huge, but it is
No, but
okay.
it's growing. Yeah.
What you often find is with the big agent in the town, that number there is
Mm,
by the very nature that you're the big agent. That there are some agents that are top of the tree and have a high percentage, but I would be really chuffed if I was Robinson Michael Jackson that
yeah.
you're growing your market shares well. And again, as I said, we'll just have a quick look at everyone else just so you can see. Now, in terms of how long does it take to sell a house, we've got this average time to sell there. So I'll just show you that now. That's okay. So you can have a look. And I'll just show you that. There you go. And I will just show, we've got another graph in a second. This just shows you in a slightly better way. So therefore, here we go. So Michael Roberts, so what was it? Wards take on average 97 days to find up to from new instruction to sale agreed, whilst
Mm.
Michael Robinson 66. I'm big, I'm I'm liking my, they're a chain,
They're
but
doing.
they seem to be doing quite well for themselves. Page and
Yeah,
Run,
they're not a corporate, are they? Or they're not owned by a corporate, but they're certainly a large independent.
definitely. So on average, 79 days to find a buyer. So you can compare yourselves against that, and 133 days to get a property through from sale agreed to completion.
Mm-hmm.
Then have a look at the lettings market. And the first thing that screams at me is this: look at open rent.
Yeah. We see this every week, don't we? The same trend in every area.
We certainly do. Ladies and gentlemen, open rent, as you can see here, was around 10% in 2021. It's now over 20%. The scary thing is this: half of the 51.2 actually, half of the properties in the last 2 years that open rent have put on the market were previously on the market with a high street agent.
Mm.
And the reason being is, and again, this is my area of expertise, I help estate agents and letting agents attract landlords and vendors, is that we are not motivating our property managers to be property managers, just ring up landlords with problems. And they think, well, if it's just as easy as that, I'll save myself my 10% fee, whack it on open rent for £39 a month, and I'll deal with
Yeah.
it. We're not we're not we're not managing our property portfolios for our landlords. We're just bringing up with problems, and we need
Not
to.
showing our worth.
We're not showing our worth. I was down, as I said last week, in Falmouth, and I was interviewing Sophie Lang, who's the co-founder of Lang Llewellyn, over
Yeah.
1,000 properties in the baby little town of Falmouth. And again, we were discussing it's all about getting your property. I think it's the most godforsaken job in the world is a property manager. They get paid basic wage, minimum wage, hardly any commission. They're the ones that retain the value of our lettings. So again, what I would say is this: if you are a letting or a letting agent in Maidstone and you're wanting to grow your letting agency, and also your estate agency, I can only work for one agent per town. If you were interested, do give me a call because I can help you grow your letting agency. Okay, let's just go and see who the main players are. Ferris, so again, it looks like they've been hit. Connells, nice and steady. Your Move, Wards, Ashton Birkinshaw, slight growth. Hart, Kent residential. So you've had a slight drifting down there, but a nice kick up there. That's good. Let's go look at Ben Siggins, Century 21. Well, I didn't know they were still around. That's good. Okay, I thought they were more of a London-based agent nowadays on up in Scotland. Good for
Yeah,
them.
they are.
Page and Wells, the Coles Group, Sandersons, Louis and Co, Sibley Pears, Simon Miller, Knight Edmonds, Martin and Co, Robinson, Michael Jackson. So again, nice growth there. Okay, again, it's just I just always like this is a nice one just to see what was the average rent in 2020 was 972, and the average rent 1,307. Just shows you the growth of rents a little bit.
Yeah, similar to the trend across the UK.
Indeed. Right. Okay. Final words from you.
I know it's because we've said a lot today, haven't we, Chris? I think look, we've been talking. A lot of positive things are happening in the market at the moment, right? I would say we are in a good market. I think the misconception that maybe us as agents sometimes have is because we're in a good market, that should translate to seller asking prices. And that's not the case. We're in a good market. We've got a good opportunity here. Buyer demand is there, but it's not the amount of stock we have on the market is pretty incredible. We have a lot of stock on the market, so we need to make sure that sellers are aware of that and that they've got competition out there and pricing realistically. And we're coming up to what is the quietest time of the year most often for a lot of us in August. This is the time to get your book in order. Go and book those revisits. Do them in person whilst all of the other estate agents go off to sleep. Be proactive and make sure that your book is in the best possible form it can be for September.
Absolutely bang on. You're so right, Alice. Ladies and gentlemen, remember your job is to improve your list to sell ratio, not your list to impress ratio. Okay? You've make sure that your need for the listing is not greater than the vendor's need to sell the house. Only one in two properties are actually selling. And again, you're here to get people moved, not to get the house marketed. So put it on at the right price. If you need some words on price reductions, again, earlier in the show, I gave you my telephone number on how to get price reductions. And with regard to overvaluing, what I teach my homeowners, my agent clients, but again, I'm more than happy to give you some free advice now, is this: get emotional buy-in first by telling a story, then hit them with the logic. If you go in with the logic, your bullets are going to be bouncing off the tank. Get inside their head, create doubt, create fear, create potential frustration, then hit them with the logic. You're more likely to get the property on at the right price. And you've got to be able to learn to walk away from a listing. How do you do that? By starting with great marketing and so you're called out to more valuations so you can walk away from more. Because again, remember, Alice, you're at a barbecue and someone finds out you're an estate agent, okay? What's the first, and they didn't know you were an estate agent before. What's the first thing they ask you?
How's the property market at the moment?
And isn't it interesting that if I went on most of your social medias, it would be listing, testimonial, listing. You're not talking. If you want people to be attracted to you, Maidstone agents, talk about the Maidstone property market. Join local Maidstone Facebook groups as you, not as the agent, and talk about the Maidstone property market in Maidstone Facebook groups. You are the gatekeepers to the second most interesting topic in the world to the British. First being the weather, the second being the property market. Again, that wasn't scripted, ladies and gentlemen. But again, I know damn well Alice would come up trumps with that. Talk about the local property market, attract people to you. You'll get called out to more valuations. You can tell the ones that won't listen to you on the price to bugger off. You get the decent ones on the market at decent fees, so you don't have to overvalue. You'll move more people, you'll earn more money, and you'll be happier. Anyway, back off my soapbox. Alice, amazing. Thank you very much. I wish you well in the coming weeks.
Thank you.
Baby due, so well done on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the show, everyone, and we'll see you next week on week 29 of the UK Property Market Stat Show.